Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome back into the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I'm your host for today's episode, Patrick Kenny, and today we got a really good show for y'all. Tomorrow, obviously, is opening day by the time you're listening to this, and I am very excited. I know y'all are as well. That's why y'all are listening. Y'all know y'all are ready for the regular season to finally start, and I am right there alongside with you. So, in today's episode, I have us going over a few different things. So I have 11 things to look forward to on opening day from an article by Michael Clare of MLB.com, and then I'm going to give you guys a few other things to look forward to as well. And then as well, also in the next segment, we're going to go over the expert picks of the 2021 division winners and champions of both divisions, or all of the divisions, both leagues, as well as the potential World Series. And that is an article by Thomas Harrigan of MLB.com as well. And then I am going to go over 5 players that could possibly pass Mike Trout this year. However unlikely that may be, but it's still possible. And then in the fifth, I'm going to see in the last segment, we're going to go see if the Dodgers or how the Dodgers stack up against against other great teams, and if I would even put them in my top 5, and they definitely are up there, absolutely. So with that being said, let's just get right on into it with the 11 things to look forward to on opening day. So the first thing is Trey Mancini coming back. Last year, the Orioles slugger Mancini came down with flu-like symptoms and discovered he had low iron count in his blood, and he and his girlfriend thought it could be celiac disease. Instead, he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. So that definitely was much more serious than baseball, absolutely, especially last year. And he has beaten his cancer and is coming back this year. He was giving a standing ovation from the short crowd in spring training this year. And the reaction should be the same, probably, from everybody in baseball who sees him step back onto the field. Some things absolutely are bigger than baseball, and that is one of those things for sure. It's bigger than everything when something like that happens. So I think that. I think that Mancini coming back is going to be a huge, huge benefit for the Orioles. They don't have many bright spots this year, and just even for Mancini being out there is just a great idea, or it's just a great thing because of how because of what he went through last year, and what we've all gone through this last year with COVID-19. And it's just really I think it's really important for us to get back to the way things were a little bit, as much as possible. And Mancini coming back and in playing after having colon cancer is just something that is going to be so special to watch and see. So up next is Francisco Lindor is going to make his Mets regular season debut. And as much as that hurt me as a Cleveland baseball fan, I'm excited to watch the Mets play this year, especially with Lindor. I think he absolutely has a fantastic a fantastic opportunity in New York. And right now, it was reported just yesterday on March 29th that the Mets offered him a 10-year, $330 million deal, I believe. And Lindor counteroffered with a 12-year, $390 million deal. I mean, he's absolutely a superstar level shortstop. He can hit home runs on either side of the plate, and he is one of the best, I think, defensive shortstops in the game. I think that he's probably, in my opinion at least, and I don't know the exact stats off the top of my head, but I would say that you could make the argument for him being a top 5 defensive shortstop, and I honestly might even put him as maybe even the number 2, just under Algernon Simmons, after seeing some of the plays that he's made over the course of his career in Cleveland, and he's just going to keep doing the same thing and having just such a special career in New York. It's going to be fun to watch, and he. One of the more fun things with Lindor is that he showed up to New York in a Coming to America jacket, and that was just fun. It was fun to see him happy again, because over the past few seasons in Cleveland, he wasn't too happy. And he also had his hair dyed blue, and he's gonna have such a great time. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be fun. And another guy to watch out for, suiting up in a new uniform, is Nolan Arenado, and he goes up against the Reds at 4:10 Eastern. So unless you're a Rockies fan, you might want to click over and see if you could watch Nolan Arenado's game tomorrow. And then Mike Trout is facing Luis Robert in the first game of the series. So talk about like an outfield battle of the ages. There's obviously the king of baseball with Mike Trout. He could ultimately end his career as the greatest player of all time. And on the other side is Chicago and their just young, talented lineup. And Luis Robert is loaded with tools. He has all the power, speed, and defensive ability to do whatever he wants on the baseball field. So that's going to be really fun for everybody to watch this upcoming year. And then up next is Clayton Kershaw is back on the mound for the first time since the World Series loss. And there is some Dodger news that broke just a little bit ago today for the Dodgers that we might need to take that I will talk about in a minute. But Kershaw is going to be the starter for opening day this season, and I just think it's going to be a good. It's good to see him back after that really rough 2019 year, and then he bounced back last year with a really good season. So that game is at 4:10 Eastern between the Dodgers and the Rockies. Clayton Kershaw, obviously his worst in coming off the 2019 season, which was his worst since his rookie year. I mean, in last season he had a fantastic season. Last year he posted his lowest ERA since 2016. And with a few more innings, he would have posted the highest or the third best WHIP in the bigs. And he obviously took home the trophy that had forever eluded him with the World Series trophy against the Rays last season. Not that he's going to be going up against a Rockies team that is very, very exciting to look at, but they still have like guys like Trevor Story and Charlie Blackmon that are in the lineup. And it's gonna be a fun to watch Clayton Kershaw make his 9th opening day start just right after a World Series victory. And then up next at number 5 is obviously one of the best and biggest storylines of this season. It's Fernando Tatis Jr.'s deal, or first game after that huge, in fact, gigantic deal that he had signed during the offseason. It's going to be very, very fun to watch him this season, especially after how good he was last season. And it's just going to be, I think it's going to be really fun to figure out who he is who he actually is as a player, and then who he will ultimately become. I think that is going to be a huge, huge deal, just to figure out, who he is. I mean, he's already kind of like, he's already sort of like a Ken Griffey Jr. type person, where you already know how good he is and what a special talent that he might be. And I think that is something that absolutely needs to be remembered, because if he is really at that talent level, it's just something that everybody needs to be watching. Everybody needs to sort of pay attention to that as much as they can. I mean, mostly because you don't know when you're going to get to see a talent like this again, and this might be a once in the.
And I just mean that I think that he could be that once in a lifetime type of player, and we're beginning to see more and more talent get kind of flooded into the MLB right now. There's a whole brigade of just new and fresh talent that's coming up, and I think talent wise, MLB is in a perfect spot for what else is going to come their way, really. I think that with some of these rule changes that are being implemented in the minors, and then with so much young talent coming up, I think that the game is headed in the right direction right now. But keep your eye out for Tatis. And then and you'll just have so much fun watching him. I mean, like, there are already just so many videos that are the best bat flips of Fernando Tatis Jr. and him and his pink wristband. It's so fun to watch. So up next is Shane Bieber's Cy Young Award follow-up. He's going to be the opening day starter for the Cleveland Indians at the Detroit Tigers starting at 1:10 Eastern. And I mean, last season Bieber stepped out of Justin Bieber's shadow, I would say, and just absolutely destroyed the other teams that he faced. He had a 1.63 ERA and a 14.2 K through 9. And like those numbers are like when you're playing MLB The Show and you just have like it's set on the easy mode, or you just happen to be good at the game and you just absolutely shove, and it's just not a competition for the other, or for you playing the other team. And that's kind of how it felt watching him last year. I mean, and the Tigers also have some promising talent in their farm system right now with Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal. The rest of the roster not so much, but these guys are definitely up there. And in last season, Shane Bieber pitched 14 2/3 innings against the Tigers and racked up 21 strikeouts versus only 3 runs in the 2 starts that he had. And last year on opening day, he struck out 14. So hopefully he'll be able to do that on Thursday, or something similar, and just give everybody a show to watch. Up next is Ke'Bryan Hayes, and he is going to be making his first opening day start with the Pirates at the Cubs at 2:20 Eastern Standard Time. And the Pirates aren't going to be very good this year. That's not going to be a surprise. They're in a rebuild mode for sure. Traded away the team's best arms in hopes of stocking up a bunch of farm system talent. Still there are very good reasons to watch. Hayes is definitely the most celebrated prospect since Andrew McCutchen, and McCutchen did win an MVP with the club, and the club also broke a 21-year gap between playoff appearances with McCutchen. So watching Ke'Bryan Hayes is going to be very, very fun. Very fun to watch, and you guys should try and tune in. He's one of the favorites as the NL Rookie of the Year. He hit .376 with 5 home runs in the 24 games that he played last season, and he is showcasing a great glove at third base as well. There's also a lot of other rookies to pay attention to, like Andrew Vaughn with the White Sox. But right now, the one, if you're going to watch one rookie this year and their opening day, you got to start with Ke'Bryan Hayes. Up next is Ronald Acuña Jr. and the Braves. The Braves probably have one of the best rosters in Major League Baseball right now, and they have the reigning NL MVP award winner with Freddie Freeman. And oh my gosh, if you have time at 3 in the afternoon Eastern time to watch the Braves and Phillies go head to head, I think you got to watch the game. Honestly, I think this is probably the best game of opening day for sure between these two division opponents. It's going to be so fun. You also have guys like Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuña Jr., oh my gosh, Dansby Swanson. You go over to the Philly side, you have Real Muto, you have Bryce Harper. Oh my gosh, like the talent on these two teams facing off is just, it's so good. It's going to be so fun to watch. And then up next is to look out for just a bunch of home runs. You're going to see a lot of home runs in this opening day, especially with guys like Joey Gallo, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Juan Soto, anybody on the Blue Jays. Like the amount of home runs that are going to be hit this year is going to be less than the previous years because the ball has been changed a little bit. But there's still going to be a lot more home runs. You also have ace versus aces. You're going to have a whole bunch. You got DeGrom versus Scherzer, and then Kershaw versus whoever is going to be the starter in Colorado. You also have Garrett Cole in the AL East, and Hugh Darvish making his debut for the Padres, and Aaron Nola versus the Braves. It's gonna be a freaking day to watch. I am so excited for baseball to finally be back. Oh my gosh, I am just so excited to watch baseball, or watch real baseball again. It's gonna be so fun. And then you also have another storyline to look out for is the unexpected hero. There's always somebody that comes out of nowhere and delivers. Last year was Yoenis Cespedes coming back from injury to homer as the first DH in the National League, or Kyle Lewis taking Justin Verlander deep. And that was before we knew Kyle Lewis would become the AL Rookie of the Year. I mean, you also, in the past, it was Tuffy Rhodes and Dimitri Young turned in a 3-run homer game or 3 home run games. You also have guys like Ramon Ramirez, who hit a walk-off home run in his 4th hit of the night for the A's in 2011. You don't know who it's going to be. You don't know who the hero is going to be, and you don't know what's going to happen, but you are going to have absolutely something to look forward to. So with that being said, we're going to give it just a short break, and we'll be right back in just a second with the 2021 division winners and the champion. Just a minute. We'll be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And welcome back in, y'all, to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Patrick Kenny here talking to you. So this is an article by Thomas Harrigan of MLB.com, who's giving his picks for the division winners and champion of the World Series in both divisions as well. And I am going to go over this with you and then give my picks for that or what I expect to happen as well. And I am by no means an expert. I just happen to have this podcast. So I am going to start off with the American League East. I think the unanimous pick right here is obviously the New York Yankees, as does Harrigan. And it looks like everybody is probably going to be picking the Yankees for this year. The Yankees are going to be... They weren't able to repeat last year. Obviously lost to the Rays, who won 8 out of 10 last year against the Yankees in the regular season and then beat them in the ALDS. But Tampa Bay is deep and has a good pitching staff despite trading Blake Snell over to the Padres. They still have a really good staff. And the Blue Jays did get better with the additions of Marcus Semien, George Springer, as well as a few others. But the Yankees added Corey Kluber and Jameis Taillon to Garrett Cole's pitching rotation, with Garrett Cole obviously being the ace of that staff and one of the best pitchers in the American League the last few years. And they also got DJ LeMahieu back. But the Bronx Bombers are definitely the pick to win this division, well past the Rays. I personally think that the Yankees are going to win it. I could see the Rays winning a wild card spot, but I don't think that they have enough this year to compete with the Yankees. Harrigan has the White Sox as the AL Central champion, and they have absolutely stockpiled a bunch of young talent. And in 2020, Jose Abreu won an MVP last year. They did lose Elroy Jimenez to a left pectoral muscle, and that's obviously a devastating blow. They lost him for much of the season, if not the entire season. But they still have a really good team and a decent pitching staff as well. It's nothing super special, but they do have Lance Lynn and Liam Hendricks, and those are guys that are veterans and will get you wins. And then they also have Adam Eaton. So I think the White Sox are a good choice. I think that this division is much more of a toss-up than A lot of people are expecting. Some people are expecting the Twins. Some people are expecting the White Sox. And then there are a few that are still expecting the Cleveland Indians to come out and be strong. I think that it is between the White Sox and the Twins. I would probably have to go with the Twins, just because I think that they're still just a little bit better than the White Sox. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if the White Sox ended up winning. You can't be surprised in that division if those three teams end up winning the division. This is a very, very tough and close division that everybody is. Everybody is going to expect something fun, at least out of that division. Out in the AL West, it's not really a much of a competition. I mean, the Athletics and the Angels are good teams, and they really have decent shots at either winning the division this year or either winning the division or making a wild card spot. And but I think that, and even with the loss of Justin Verlander, I think that the Astros are going to be a fantastic team, and that's who I'm expecting to win, as well as the Astros. So I mean, the Astros did lose Garrett Cole in 2019. They lost Justin Verlander to Tommy John surgery this year. They do have Jordan Alvarez, but they did lose him last year to double knee surgery, and had a disappointing season last year. But they were able to make it into the playoffs. They beat the Twins and the A's before almost coming back 3-0 against the Rays. And so they did lose Springer in the offseason, but they do have Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman, and their team is still good. This is a very close division. The Astros, out of the expert picks, the Astros beat the A's 46-33 in the votes, and the Angels are also getting a little bit of support. The Angels are a good team too, and you can't count those teams out at all. And while I think that the National League has definitely the stronger teams, to say the very least, the American League is stacking up in the next couple years to be just an absolute dogfight in the next few years, and that's kind of what the NL is going to look like this year. So MLB.com's experts don't have the Rays winning another division title, but they do think that Tampa Bay is going to take one of the wild card spots, and the other one they're expecting to go to the Blue Jays. I don't know if either of those teams, or if both of those teams are going to win enough games to be the. I think one of them out of the American League East, but I don't think that two teams out of the American are going to come out of the, or three teams are going to come out of the American League East this year. I would give the second. Well, I think I do think the Rays are going to make the playoffs this year. Absolutely, without a doubt. I think that the Rays are going to be too good to not make the playoffs this year. I don't know if the Blue Jays are there yet. I don't think that the Blue Jays are there yet, and I expect them to have a tough time in the division this year. I think that depending on how good the Athletics are, I would give the Athletics the second wild card spot between them and the Blue Jays. I would say that it's between either them. I would say that it's between the Athletics and the Blue Jays, and either the Twins or the White Sox, depending on whichever team is the division, depending on whichever team is the division leader to make the wild card this year. And the experts here have they have a decent expectation that the Yankees are going to win the division this year, and I would tend to, win the American League this year, and I would tend to agree with that. Absolutely, I think that the Yankees definitely are the favorite in the American League to win the American League pennant. Last year was the 11th straight year for the Yankees without a World Series appearance, and a lot of people, and me included, think that the drought's going to end here in 2021. They have as much talent, or they have probably the most talent on the team, more than really anybody in the American League this season. And if everybody is able to stay healthy on the field, most importantly Aaron Judge, as well as Giancarlo Stanton, I think that they have an absolutely fantastic opportunity to be up there, especially with guys like Corey Kluber and James Taillon. And they also have Jordan Montgomery and Domingo Germain, who have looked pretty good this spring so far. And a lot of people are expecting the White Sox to be there against and face the Yankees, and I would expect them, if the White Sox get into the playoffs, I think that the White Sox would probably make it to the ALCS, and then probably lose to the Yankees. And I think I'm going to say the Yankees win that game, or win that series in 6 games. I think that's a pretty good series, in my opinion, between the Yankees and the White Sox. I think that the White Sox lose 4-2 in that series. Now up next is the National League East. The experts from MLB.com have the Braves winning that. Only the Dodgers have a longer active division title streak than the Braves. The Braves have won the NL East in each of the last 3 seasons. But this is going to be probably, in my opinion, I think this is the most competitive division in baseball, because I think that any one of these teams, except for maybe the Marlins, are at least playoff contenders. And then I think that I would say that I would personally give World Series contenders to at least 3 of these teams. And I know that giving it to 3 of those teams might be a stretch, but I think that with the Nationals, Braves, and the Mets, I think that all 3 of those teams could, if they get hot toward the end of the year, could end up going on a run and making it to the World Series. Out in the NL Central, the experts are picking the St. Louis Cardinals to win. I think that that's a pretty good one. I don't think that the Reds are going to be there. Obviously not the Pirates. I think that the Brewers are going to bounce back this year and win this division, but it's not a bad pick to pick the Cardinals. And then I think the Cubs are just going to kind of be a sort of Cincinnati Reds, or about wherever the Reds are, between 3rd and 4th in the division this year. But I don't hate the Cardinals pick right here. The Cardinals obviously have reached the postseason each of the past two seasons. They did rank 14th in runs and OPS last year in the National League. And they definitely needed to address their offense in the offseason, and they went and traded for Nolan Arenado for basically pennies on the dollar. He comes in to St. Louis with a career 235 home runs, a career OPS of 890, and he's an 8-time Gold Glove Award winner. And then obviously Trevor Bauer and Hugh Darvish last season finished in 1st and 2nd place, but neither of those guys are in the division, those guys placed 1st and 2nd in Cy Young voting, but neither of those guys are in the division anymore. And it's going to be really, really close to. I think that this is going to come down to the Brewers and the Cardinals, potentially down to the last week of the season. I think that the Brewers are a good team, and the Cubs are a good team as well, and as are the Reds. All 4 of those teams I could see winning this division, Although I do think that the Cardinals have a really good shot at winning the division, I just think that the Brewers are going to bounce back from last season's disappointments, especially with bounce backs from guys like Christian Yelich. And I think that the Brew Crew have a really good shot at winning the division this year. Out in the NL is between. Obviously, this is not a super close division, but they do have two super teams with the Dodgers and the Padres. Now, my pick is I would say similar to the Dodgers pick, to the MLB Network's pick of the Dodgers. And this, they have a super team, and then they went out and signed Trevor Bauer. And they also are adding David Price to the roster this year, as well as Tony Gonsolin. And both of those guys would be starters for pretty much any other team in the bigs. And both of those guys, and it was just announced earlier today that Dustin May has beaten out David Price. Justin May has beaten out David Price for that fifth spot on the rotation. So Tony Gonsolin and David Price are going to be coming out of the bullpen this year. And while I think both of those guys are probably going to get a couple of starts here and there, for the most part, those guys are good enough to at least be a number 2 or a number 3 on any other roster. And in this roster, they're going to be just depth pieces. And they also have an incredible lineup. They have Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Max Muncy, and Will Smith. And the Padres might be the second best team in baseball this year, but the Dodgers have this division kind of on lock this year. And I think that and I've said this before, I think that the Padres are going to be a team to reckon with in the very near future, but I don't think it's this year. I think next year when they get Mike Clevenger back and they have just a three-headed monster of Mike Clevenger, Hugh Darvish, and Blake Snell, as well as some of their other guys like Denson Lamet, and I am so excited to watch these two teams play. Especially, and when they first play each other this year, I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be sitting in front of my TV watching this game, and I think a lot of people are as well. I am so excited to watch these two teams face off, and I do expect the Dodgers to win the division, and out in the wild card, I think that there's going to be a really, really good team there's going to be a really good fight in the NL wild card, and I don't remember. I think I did. I think I agreed with the Braves pick as the division winners of the NL East, but that leaves only 2 more places for some of these other teams. That's the Phillies, Nationals, Brewers, or the Cardinals, and then also the Padres, and then you also have the Mets as well. You have all of those teams that are going to be fighting it out probably until the last day of the season for that final wild card spot, and the MLB.com experts pick the Padres and the Mets, and I would have to agree. If I would say that it's going to go to the Padres as the home team for the wild card, and then it's going to go to whoever comes in second place in the NL East. So that could be the Braves, that could be the Mets, it could even be the Phillies or the Nationals. I definitely, and it could be any one of those teams for sure. And I mean there really aren't many duos that are better than Hugh Darvish, or that are better than Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado. And the Padres also added Hugh Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove during the offseason. And they have a very impressive roster. And if this plays out like the experts of MLB.com predict, the Padres are going to end up facing the Mets and a 2-time Cy Young Award winner in Jacob deGrom. Or it could be Marcus Stroman, or it could be Noah Syndergaard, or Carlos Carrasco, or the list goes on. Like, some of these teams are just so deep, it's going to be ridiculous. And then whoever wins, anybody could come out of the National League this year. It's kind of crazy, I think. But the overwhelming favorite is going to be the Dodgers winning it all, or winning the National League pennant. The Padres are going to be the runner-up, or at least based on the picks, and I would tend to agree with that. I think that, I think that what is most likely to happen is the Dodgers win the division, and then the Mets and Padres play it out, and I think that the Mets win that game, and then I think it's going to be Dodgers-Mets in the NLCS. And then I think the Dodgers are just going to edge out the Mets this year. And then the World Series champion, I think you got to go with the Dodgers again. The Dodgers probably are going to repeat this year, I think. If they're healthy, their team is going to be ridiculously talented. And if they're facing the Yankees, it's going to be even more impressive. And while these two teams, while the Dodgers were the Brooklyn Dodgers, then the Yankees beat the then Brooklyn Dodgers in 6 out of the seven times that they met in the Fall Classic. And that was in 1941, 1947, 1949, 1952, 1953, and 1956. The only time that the Dodgers ended up beating the Yankees was in 1955. They played 4 more times in the World Series since the Dodgers moved to LA, winning 2 times. But the last of those matchups came in, they played 4 more times in the World Series since the Dodgers moved to LA. Both teams winning twice, but the last matchup of that was in 1981. I think that would be one heck of a story to come back with and beat the Yankees. So we're going to take a short break right here. I'll be back in just a second with a few players that could pass Mike Trout potentially this year as the best player in baseball.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, guys, welcome back into the third segment of today's episode of the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Like I said a couple times already,
we're going to be talking about a few guys that could potentially pass Mike Trout as the best player in baseball. And while I don't think that anybody will actually become the best player in baseball, I do think, or better than Mike Trout, I do think that potentially this year is a good there are a few guys that can absolutely pass Mike Trout. I mean, he is the king of baseball right now. He's the unquestionable best player in baseball. Is in any ranking, he is almost always the number one guy since like 2013. And that was just, and actually in 2013, that was the last time that he was not ranked number one, and he was 21 and behind only Miguel Cabrera and Justin Verlander. But he had a down year by his standards last year, and he's going to turn 30 this year. So the window to take his throne might be open. I mean, he's definitely going to he's definitely aging, and he had a down year last year, but he is just entering his prime. So we might just, be doing what people in sports media do and just kind of trying to see something when it really isn't there. So first off is Christian Yelich. The last 162 games, they have the same batting average of 288. Trout has a higher OPS of 90. Yelich's is 97.4. Trout's is 1,052. Yelich has hit 43 home runs, 56 home runs for Trout. Yelich is 88 RBIs. Mike Trout's 134. 116 runs scored for Trout with 31 stolen bases and a 6.8 WAR. Trout's is 134 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, and a 9.4 WAR. So the case for Christian Yelich, and if you watched him play last year, you probably forgot how good he was the last 2 years. He is one of the players that can really match Trout kind of stat for stat over the last 2 seasons. And while Mike Trout was leading the American League in OPS in 2018 and 2019, Christian Yelich was doing the same thing in the NL. And in fact, his 343 total bases in 2018 are more than Trout has had in a single year. And then throw in 2 batting titles and 52 stolen bases over those 2 years. Yelich is outpacing everybody in the running, including Mike Trout. They both have a first and second place voting in MVP during that time frame as well. And Yelich's career 807 OPS against left-handed pitching is top 10 for left-handed hitters over the last 40 years. Now, the only thing that we really can do with this debate is just throw out 2020, but you can't do that, especially if if you want to include guys like Javier Baez, JD Martinez, Jose Altuve, Eugenio Suarez, and a bunch of overplayers who all kind of stunk last year. So last year really shouldn't be in this debate because I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing my actual thought process right there. So you really can't take in 2020 for like these comparisons, because you have guys like Javier Baez, JD Martinez, and Jose Altuve who just kind of sucked last year. Like they were not good at playing baseball last year, and a lot of guys had down years last year. And Trout didn't do terrible last year, and neither did Juan Soto, Mookie Betts, or Fernando Tatis Jr. But being the best isn't just 1 year of excellence; it's about sustained greatness. So I think that there is that you can't throw out. I don't know if you can necessarily throw out just a whole season, because you do have guys that had great years last year. But I think that there are some really good guys that have the ability that had a good year last year or a bad year last year and could pass Mike Trout. So up next, Ronald Acuña Jr. Over the last 162 games, Acuña Jr. has a lower batting average at a 272, a lower OPS of a .917, He hit 47 home runs, 107 RBIs, 43 stolen bases, and a 6.8 WAR. Whereas Mike Trout, 288 batting average, over 1,000 OPS, 56 home runs, 134 RBIs, and a 9.4 WAR. So with 3 years under Acuña's belt, all of the signs point toward Acuña putting it all together for him, which would give him just a ridiculous amount of just numbers. With Christian Patch taking over center field, Acuña won't have to bounce between positions as much, and over the last 3 years, he's put up better defensive numbers than Mookie Betts as a right fielder on a prorated basis. He is one of the few talents who might lead the league in homers and steals in a season. I mean, it's crazy how good he is, and he should get on base enough for a 40-40 season and potentially a Gold Glove award as well. Acuña is baseball's next 10 WAR player. At the age of 23, he might sit at that level for at least a decade. At the time, Trout will wage deeper into his 30s, which will create a sort of decline and sort of one entering a prime and somebody else entering a twilight kind of deal. The history of 10-win corner outfielders in WAR is just like this. It's Mookie Betts in 2018, the juiced-up seasons from Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa, and then after that you got to jump back to Carl Yastrzemski twice, 1 year for Stan Musial, and then 3 for Ted Williams, and 8 for Babe Ruth. That's it. So a 10-win WAR threshold is just incredible for any player. Acuña's strikeout rate has gone in the wrong direction, but leaping up to like 30% last year. And so as much damage as he does inflict on the ball when it's hit, it's not. He isn't hitting it enough right now to make up for the bat to ball deficiency. So like Soto, he's got time, and he might be a 40-40 guy. He might even win a Triple Crown one of these years. But he didn't even reach a 6 WAR. There are too many things that he needs to improve. He didn't even have a WAR over 7 last year, or over the last 160 games. Neither did Yelich. So you can't necessarily give it to him just yet. So over the last 143 games, Fernando Tatis Jr. he's only played 143 professional games. Over that time, Trout's batting average is a 289. His OPS is over 1,000. He had 52 home runs, 123 RBIs, and an 8.5 WAR. And then you go look at Fernando Tatis Jr. His batting average is a 301, a 956 on base, or OPS, a 39 home runs, 98 RBIs, 27 steals, and a 6.5 WAR. So he is a absolute beast. He is the cover athlete for Major League Baseball. He has a $340 million contract, and he's just 22 years old this year. Tatis has registered almost a full season of games, and yet it's pretty clear that he is already a defining, if not the defining athlete of the sport. He's just too strong. He's played 143 games, and a lot of them were played before he was of the legal drinking age in the United States. He had a 301 batting average, a 374 on base percentage, and a 582 slugging percentage. He had 71 extra base hits, 27 stolen bases, and then a 6.5 wins above replacement. And those are MVP numbers in any season. And in 2020, a year of logistical problems and playing through a pandemic, snapped a projection of some of the game's best players. but Tatis became a more patient hitter who barreled pitches within the top 1% of the industry. He just absolutely was a stud last year. Like, you can't, like, there's a reason that after last season, the Padres came to him with an extension that was $340 million. He is definitely one of the game's best players, and definitely is likely deserving of it. I mean, he's also just a cool guy, and he has such a flair for dramatics. That pink wristband is going to be one of the most, not notorious, but you're going to see so many kids in the next few years just start wearing a pink wristband on their wrist when they're hitting, and he's just fun to say, or he's just fun to watch. I mean, he is not yet the best, but everything is there for him to be the best. He plays the right position for everyone in or every baseball fan to love him and know who he is. He's got the bat that's going to bring people in, and he's got a heck of a glove as well. I mean, and he steals a lot of bases. So enjoy that while he still can steal a lot of bases, because if you remember and you look back at Alex Rodriguez's stats, that guy hit a lot of home runs with Seattle, but he also stole a lot of bases. And then when he went to Texas, he stopped stealing as many bases, and that was just kind of because he got a little bit older. And and then Alex Rodriguez would go on to have a complicated career, to say the least. But hopefully Tatis is gonna stay more humble a little bit and understand a little bit more of what is actually going, of what he actually could become. So up next, Mookie Betts. Over the last 162, Mookie Betts has had a better average at a 296 as opposed to Trout's 288. Trout has the edge in OPS, obviously over 1,000. Mookie Betts is a 928. Mookie Betts loses the home run battle and the RBI battle as well, with 38 home runs and 96 RBIs as opposed to Trout's 56 home runs and 134 RBIs. Mookie Betts does have the lead in steals, and so far he also has the highest WAR next to Trout. And his WAR is a 7.9, whereas Trout's is a 9.4. I mean, you could make people have been making the case for Mookie Betts as one of the best players of all time if Trout just didn't exist. I mean, the conversation for best player of the generation would start off with Mookie Betts if it were not for Mike Trout. That is without a doubt. I mean, Mookie Betts is just one of the guys that not only passes the stat test, but he also passes the eye test. His rookie year was in 2014. And he has posted the second most F-WAR among active players with a 40.2. And the next closest guy is Anthony Rendon with a 34.3. F-WAR is fielding wins above replacement, by the way, just in case you didn't know. And he's also behind Trout, who is leading everybody in fielding WAR with a 54.7. Like, that means that the regular replacement players that are just at average are at 0. And Mike Trout brings in 50 more wins than that player. That is so ridiculously high. It is absurd since 2014 that he's been able to do that. Mookie Betts obviously makes just a huge impact with his glove. Every game. I mean, he's a Gold Glover, and his stats speak to himself as well, or speak to his case as well. I mean, the problem with, but there is a problem if you are in, like, I mean, there is a problem with if Trout didn't exist argument, because he does exist. And by the time Mookie Betts got to the bigs, Trout had already finished second MVP voting twice and would win the award in Mookie Betts' rookie season. And that was a year in which Mike Trout accounted for 10.2 wins. He plays a more important position than Mookie Betts does. Obviously, center field is a more important position than right field, and he's still a better hitter than Mookie Betts. And now, while it sounds like I'm just absolutely just destroying or ripping Mookie Betts down to shreds, I'm really not. I think that right now Mookie Betts is probably the second best position player in baseball. If you put up anybody next to Mike Trout's numbers, you're going to fall short. He's one of the best players in baseball, or in baseball history, for a reason. Up next is Juan Soto. So over the last 162, Soto had a better batting average at a 309, has had the closest OPS. Soto's OPS is 1,047, Trout's 1,052. Soto has hit 15 less home runs than him, and only 14 less RBIs. And he has scored 131 runs in that time. So that's just the hitting stats. On-base percentage is life, absolutely. And Trout's most valuable skill is the ability to get on base. He has a career on-base percentage of a .418 and a season best in 2018, or career best in 2018 of .460. Juan Soto has a career on-base percentage of .415, topping .400 in the 3 seasons that he's played, which is absolutely ridiculous. And last season he had an on-base percentage that was .490. That means out of every 1,000 times he comes to the plate, he is just 10 plate appearances away of getting on base. Then if he were to get that, then he would reach base every other time he came to bat, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the last hitter to qualify for an on-base percentage that high was Barry Bonds, and before that it was Ted Williams and Mickey Mantle in 1957. I mean, and when you hit like Juan Soto, you can be the best player in the game even if you don't play up the middle, just like Ted Williams and Barry Bonds. I mean, so as long as you're taking, those, 3-letter acronyms to account, you should all account for his defensive metrics as well. I mean, defensively, he's just as good. And as an outfielder, Soto was 2 runs below the average in runs saved in 2020. He was good for 92% among he was good for 92nd in qualified outfielders. And so it's not like he's a mess defensively, but I mean, he still needs to be a little bit better. So if Soto is better than everyone at the plate, he just needs to be a little bit better at defense to be respected as good of a player as Mike Trout. So we got one more segment coming up in just a second. We're going to go over the Dustin May news and see what that means for the Dodgers, and then we're going to see where I would rank the Dodgers amongst the other great teams of all time. We'll be right back in just a second.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
All right, and welcome back in, everybody, to the last segment before we get to watch baseball again. Tomorrow there should be another episode out, and then I will have my episode out recapping the first few days of the season next Sunday. But right here, we're just going to talk about something that I think is super, super interesting. So Dustin May is named the 5th starter, which puts Price out into the bullpen. Dave Roberts, the Los Angeles Dodgers manager, announced Monday that Dustin May has won the club's 5th starter role over David Price to open the 2021 season. May also beat out Jimmy Nelson for the spot in the Dodgers rotation. Both Price and Nelson will join Tony Gosselin, in another pitcher with starter experience as part of the bullpen. It was easy, it was tough, or quote, it was easy, it was tough, just a lot of variables that I don't really want to get into, end quote, Roberts told reporters. Quote, I just think that we feel good with David, Jimmy, and Tony in the pen, getting left, getting right, out, taking down 2, 3, 4 innings, potentially at some point. I expect those guys to even finish games if it makes sense. David Price obviously was acquired by the Dodgers last February as a part of the blockbuster deals in the Mookie Betts trade. He opted out of the 2021 season amid the coronavirus pandemic. The Dodgers went on to capture the World Series with a postseason rotation that included both May and Gonsolin. That didn't stop the front office from upgrading the staff, led by Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler, and they signed the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner Trevor Bauer to a 3-year, $102 million contract, and also brought in Nelson for depth. It created a logjam to fill 5 roster spots, with Julio Urias having earned one with a 1.17 ERA across 23 innings during last year's playoffs. So the Dodgers will open the season with Kershaw, Bauer, Buehler, Urias, and May in the rotation, with the other 5th starter candidates moving to the pen. In early March, Price explained that he reached out to the president of baseball operations, Andrew Friedman, during the offseason to encourage the Bauer pursuit. Whatever makes the 2021 Dodgers better, I'm all for it, Price said. Between a star-studded rotation and no shortage of replacement options, should injuries arise, and a powerful lineup led by Betts, Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, the Dodgers are in prime position to make a serious run towards a championship repeat. And the Dodgers open the season with a 7-game road trip, opening on Thursday against the Colorado Rockies. I struggled to get through that last part. This is an article by Tim Daniels of Bleacher Report. So thank you to Bleacher Report and Tim Daniels for allowing me to kind of check that out. So I'm gonna start at see where I would throw the Dodgers over as some of the greatest teams of all time. And I'm going to be using Bleacher's Report, the same Bleacher Report article that I used a few weeks ago when I did when I went over the top best teams of baseball history. The 1907 Cubs went 4-0 in the World Series, and won the World Series. Had a 107 record, 45 losses, 107 to 45 record, a plus 184 run differential, a team ERA of 183, a team batting average of 250, an on-base percentage of 318, and that included 4 Hall of Famers. I think that the Dodgers are probably better than that team. I can think of potentially 4 Hall of Famers on the Dodgers staff anyway. They don't even have to be they don't even have to be hitters. Like there are also a few hitters that could absolutely win the or be Hall of Famers. I absolutely think that could happen. So based on just Hall of Famers, I think that this team is. I think that this Dodgers team is better than the 1907 Cubs. Up next is the 1984 Tigers. They went 104-58 and then 7-1 in the postseason, obviously winning the World Series. Their team ERA was a 3.49, a team batting average of 271, and then a team on base percentage of a 3.42. And this team didn't have any Hall of Famers either. They did have Kirk Gibson and Jack Morris, as well as a few other guys. But I think that the Dodgers this year are just going to be so much. Are going to be so good that I don't even think that I can put them on. I don't even know if I can put them below this team. And this team won over 100 games, won the World Series, and only lost one game in the entire in the entire playoffs. I don't know if I can put that, even with guys like Kirk Gibson on that team, and they had a pretty good staff as well. Up next is the 1970 Orioles. They won 108 games, had a plus 218 run differential, at a team ERA of 3.15, a team average of 3.57, and a team on-base percentage of 3.44. And this team had Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, and then Jim Palmer as Hall of Famers on this team. They also had Elroy Hendricks as their catcher, Davey Johnson at second, a few other starters like Dave McNally and Mike Cellular. They had 3 20-game winners in that lineup, and Earl Weaver, and a legendary manager with Earl Weaver. Oh my goodness! Like, it is just so like that. This team is great. I mean, oh my goodness! Like this team is honestly probably just as good as the Dodgers. They might be even a little bit better than the Dodgers. Now I don't know if that's totally true. I mean, but the Dodgers are definitely having a fantastic year, or are going to have a fantastic year this year. But I think with 3 Cy Young Award winners on the Dodgers, I think that their team is the Dodgers team specifically. I think that they have a few extra. I just said that one of the Cy Young Award winners on the team just got moved to the bullpen. I think that this team has a real shot at being the best team of all time. So I think that while as good as this team was, and there's a reason that the Baltimore Orioles, the 1970 Orioles, are as high as they are on this list of the 50 greatest teams in MLB history. But I think that the Dodgers have the potential to be better than this. And that's crazy to say. And then you go to the 1902 Pittsburgh Pirates with there wasn't a World Series in 1902, but they won 103 games. Had a plus 335 run differential, a 230 average, a team batting average that was 286, a on base percentage of 344, and then an absolute stacked lineup. Like they had Jack O'Connor catching, a Kitty Bransfield at first, Claude Ritchie at second, Tommy Leach at third, And they didn't even have Honus Wagner. MLB Network put together a show a few years ago called Prime 9 where they would go over the greatest the top 9 players at every position. And Honus Wagner was the number 1 shortstop of all time. And they have and he was a center fielder for the Pirates in this team. Like wow. Like it's just fantastic. The 1902 Pirates posted the second best winning percentage in baseball history with a 741 mark that is trailed only by the 1906 Cubs with a 763 mark. Honus Wagner and Fred Clark are Hall of Famers. They led the offense, both having an average well above 300. Their OPS they both were at 850, and Honus Wagner was at 857. Wagner had 91 RBIs, Clark had 53, and they only hit 18 home runs, but they did lead the league in doubles, triples, and runs scored. And then their top 3 pitchers all won 20 games or more that year. And that is just crazy. So I think that the Dodgers might be better than this team. I think that this, I could legitimately see the Dodgers having 3 guys of 20-win pitchers, as well as another, oh my goodness, I could see this team winning, I could see Kershaw, Bauer, and Buehler all winning over 20 games, and then having Julio Urias and Dustin May winning 15 to 18 games. It's going to be ridiculous how good these guys are. And then if one of them tweaks a hamstring and is out for a few weeks, they can literally just plug and play somebody from their bullpen. It's honestly pretty ridiculous how good these guys are going to be this year. Up next, the 61 Yankees. I rank these guys as number 1 all time just because they hold a special place in my heart, even though I was born 39 years after this season. But I think that I think that this team was pretty fantastic, to say the very least. They had a 3.46 ERA, a 215 run differential, a plus 215 run differential. They won 109 games, went 4-1 in the postseason, and won the World Series. They had a team batting average of 263, a team on base percentage of 330, and just an unreal lineup. Roger Maris won his second MVP this year, or during this season, and isn't a Hall of Famer, but he's still on this team. Yogi Berra was on this team as well. Mickey Mantle. You have Tony Kubik. You have Bobby Richardson, Bill Scorin, Elston Howard, Whitey Ford, Raleigh Sheldon, Bud Daly. The list goes on and on for how good this team was. It's so freaking. This team was so freaking good. It was just so good. Maris obviously broke the home run record that year. Mickey Mantle got hurt toward the end of that year, but ended the season with 54 home runs, and an OPS at 990, an OPS at over 1,000. Roger Maris's was 993, 141 RBIs. Elston Howard hit 21 home runs that year. Yogi Berra hit 22. Bill Skowron hit 28. This team was called the Bronx Bombers for a reason. This team was amazing. And Whitey Ford won the only Cy Young of his career with that team. with this specific team, and I would still put the Dodgers probably ahead of them in all-time rankings, just because I think that they have a really good shot at being one of the best teams of all time. Up next, the 1929 Athletics. Al Simmons, a Hall of Famer. Jimmy Fox, a Hall of Famer. Mickey Callahan, a catcher, a Hall of Famer. Lefty Grove was on this team. The Yankees and Babe Ruth dominated the 20s and the 30s, but 1929, the Philadelphia Athletics won the AL pennant by 18 games over the Yankees. They had one of the best 3-4-5s in baseball history with Mickey Cochran, Al Simmons, and then Jimmy Fox. And that offense was just so dangerous. Like, combined between all three of them that year, they had 70. They hit over 84 home runs that season. 74 home runs combined that season. RBIs, they all were over 100 RBIs like together. All over 100 RBIs individually, and the pitching staff with Lefty Grove and Rube Wahlberg and George Earnshaw was just absolutely ridiculous. Lefty Grove, 20-6 record, 2.81 ERA. Rube Wahlberg, a 18-11, 3.60 ERA. George Earnshaw, a 24-8 record with a 3.29 ERA. All of them just having amazing seasons. I would say that it's going to be tough for the Dodgers to be better than this team. But I think that they might overtake them for the 5th overall spot of all time. 1988 Yankees are up next. That's going to be a tough team for them to get over the hump of. A pitching staff of Andy Pettitte, David Cohn, David Wells, Orlando Hernandez, and then Hideki Irabu, and then a starting lineup of Derek Jeter, Paul O'Neill, Bernie Williams, Tino Martinez, Darryl Strawberry, Chad Curtis, Jorge Posada, and Scott Boras. Yeah, I don't know if this Dodgers team is. I would say that this Dodgers team probably is going to rank just below this team, just because we don't know what is going to happen with this Dodgers team. So I think we're gonna probably stop there for the actual for their ranking. I'm gonna rank this team as potentially being the 5th best team of all time, with a pitching staff of 3. With a pitching staff of 3 Cy Young Award winners and Walker Buehler and Dustin May and Julio Urias, who all could be aces on another staff. I think that, and then a lineup that features Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Max Muncy, Justin Turner, potentially Will Smith if he gets some catching time this year. It's going to be hard to list players that aren't just absolutely amazing. But so let me know what you guys think. Reach out to me on Twitter at Patrick Kenny KENNEY _ or reach us at Twitter at GSMC baseball or _ baseball. Excuse me. Leave a review on Apple iTunes. Leave a comment and like and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching there, listening there. Let us know what you guys like so you can so that way we can make the show better for y'all. And I mean that's really what we do it for is for you guys. So thank y'all for listening. My name's Patrick Kenny. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's day and have a happy opening day.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.